Alright guys, and so we're back for part 2 of the porthole and tentacle build. Okay, so after I left you guys last time, I went ahead and I added some more layers of latex onto that tentacle. And I gotta tell you, I had some good pointers from like Steve Catronio and somebody else that said like you could spray it down with 77, spray the foam down with 77 to seal it, because I realized that pretty much the first 2 coats of latex that I put on that tentacle mainly just sealed the pores on the foam, and it wasn't until the coats after that where I was actually able to build up a skin. So you might want to take that into consideration. I ended up putting 5 coats total, and this is the end result. This is what she looks like. Okay, I'm happy with it. You know, you could go closer together. You know, you look at photos of real tentacles. They seem to be they're pretty close together. But you know what? This is a monster. I want this to be a big kraken. You know, whoever is attached on the other end of this is gigantic, bigger than the ship that it's taking down. So now that that's done, what do we do next? Well, I think I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it aside, and then I'm going to go ahead and start working on the plinth. Alright, and that's what we're going to put the portal on, and that's ultimately what the tentacle is going to be coming out of. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get set up for that. I appreciate you guys being here. Check this out. Alright guys, so we have our wooden planks here. This is where the porthole is going to ultimately be mounted in the center, and then we're going to have our tentacle that's coming out of this. Alright, and I wanted to do it in the same style I did my steampunk bottle, and that's to take, you're going to need craft foam like this, or you can even get you can find them some places. I think I found this at Hobby Lobby, but they do have bigger sheets of it, and I think you can even get rolls of it. But for today I'm going to go ahead and use these. What I tend to do is find these in the Walmart section, and every time I go there, whether I need them or not, I'll just grab a couple of sheets because they're cheap enough where it's not going to break the bank. And after going there and keep picking them up after a while, when I finally do need them, I'm going to have plenty of them. So something else that I'm going to need and I'm going to use is, I like to use super glue. Okay, for the rivets, when we cut the pieces of sheet metal, they're going to be riveted on all 4 corners. And for that, just like on the steampunk bottle, I got some of these fasteners. These are what you get a piece of paper, and you put in that thing that punches 3 holes in it, and then you can stick it through and then bend it over, and that way you have a packet of paper that's held together with these fasteners. I know you've seen them. You can get these at Walmart, and where they sell like packing materials and stationery, notebooks and stuff like that. It's relatively cheap. It comes with 200 fasteners in here. But what you have to do is you have to take each one, and then with a cutting tool, I use these needle nose pliers here that's got a little cutting edge in there. I go ahead and I stick it in there, that little tab, give it a good push, and then I'll just break these little tabs off. Okay, and that just leaves me with just the rivet. And last night I went ahead and I sat down, watched Friday the 13th, the final chapter, and just sat there at the kitchen table and cut up a bunch of these. Whether I have enough or not, I don't know yet, but we're going to find out. So I'm going to throw that in there. Alright, so this is going to be an easy part here. Basically, you're going to have to decide whether you want to go with really really large pieces of sheet metal, or if you want to keep it tight, you know, and mixed up. It's not a big surface. If you're gonna do a facade and you're gonna do a big scene that's like kind of like, I don't know, maybe what you would see on the inside of like the Nautilus or something like that, Captain Nemo's ship there. You might want to keep it, you might want to do big panels, but something like this being small, I think I'm going to go with just a mixture, smaller ones, but a mixture. And you can just start laying this stuff out how you want it. And it doesn't have to be the same length or size. You can go big, small, skinny, you know, just cutting up random pieces. Alright, and I'm not even worried about where the porthole is going. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover this whole thing. That way it takes the guesswork out of, you know, drawing a template and then having to meticulously go around. I'm going to go ahead and cover the whole thing. Alright, when it's done, then I'm going to mount that porthole on there, and then when I'm ready to attach the tentacle, I'm going to go ahead and just take a razor knife and cut inside the porthole. So that makes it easy. I've already got a template, which is the inside of the porthole. Alright, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and paint this whole thing black when it's done. So what I think I'll do is I'm going to go right up, butt up against the corners here. I'm just going to dab some on here. I like super glue. I find it works really good for a lot of things. Especially this, it reacts, this foam, it really does a good. So I'm going to go on a corner here. I don't want to, anything that I put around this edge, I'm going to want to cut it first. That's the only thing I'm going to want to really, I don't want to put something square up to the edge, like here. Alright, and then you have to cut a sliver to fill this in. If I'm going to overlap it, which I'm going to need to, then I want to cut around here first. Alright, in fact, I'll do that right now. And it doesn't have to be, I can just do it right here. I don't have to, because it'll be crude. See, now I can just butt it right up against there. And like I said, this is all going to be painted black, so we're not even going to see that. So I'm going to just randomly put the super glue on there. Find that little corner right there. Boom. Just tack it down. It's not going to go anywhere, trust me. Alright, that's on there good. And you put your hand on it, you can start, when it starts curing, feel it starts getting real hot. Alright, so we've got some pieces here, different ones, but we can even go like some thin pieces like this. Alright, and then there's all kinds of stuff that we can do here. Alright, so I'm going to do that. So I can cut around, bevel here, bevel it, and that way I can find this edge right here. See? I've got a piece that's going in the opposite direction, but it's also filling in around that corner. I like doing this stuff. It's really fun, and it's relatively cheap too. You know, I bought this wooden plinth, but you could use a piece of recycled plywood if you want. There's no rules. There are no rules, guys. You do what you have to do. I oftentimes recycle a lot of things to get what I need and want. Now, another thing, back to the rivets. The other thing that you could use too, if you don't want to mess with those fasteners, which are cheap, you can go with the upholstery tacks. I don't have any sitting here in front of me, but you can go with the upholstery tacks too, and those work good. But it's, you know, they're a lot bigger, and it's going to cost you a lot more to do the whole thing. But that's up to you. Like I said, I'm trying to do this at the lowest cost possible, so that you guys can get an idea on how to do this for cheap. If you want to invest in the higher end materials, that's up to you. I'm just showing you a cheap and easy way to do this. So, Okay guys, I'm going to continue. I'm just going to randomly cut and fit. We're going to come back. I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you how I'm going to start putting those rivets on there. So hang tight guys. Alright guys, so this is what I came up with. Alright. Basically I just took sheets of this and just cut it in random squares, rectangles, and then just like a puzzle, we just started piecing it together. Okay. Now we need to put the rivets on there yet, but I thought maybe I should attach the porthole on there first, so that I'll know, you know, I'm not wasting rivets. This way I can cut out this section. I need to cut out a little bit of it so that I have wood on foam contact when I mount that tentacle on there, so that it'll adhere. Otherwise it can separate and pull away. So I've got a drill, and I've got me some wood screws, flat-headed wood screws, and so now I'm just going to line this up best I can, and I'm going to go ahead and then screw this porthole in. Then I'm going to take my little fasteners, rivets, and I'm just going to go ahead and start putting them in and gluing them around on the corners. Right there will go one, right there will, on all of the corners that are visible. Okay, all the way around. You can add another little plate just for, you know, for aesthetics. If you want to, you can, you know, put more rivets, whatever you want to do. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and mount this. I'm gonna go ahead and put the rivets on. I'm gonna come back, and then we're gonna go to the next step. So hang tight guys. Alright guys, and this is what we have. I went ahead and I attached all the little rivets on all the corners. I even put some just along the edge, tie it all in, and as you can see I screwed that porthole to the wood, and then I cut the foam out in the middle, and that way I could secure that tentacle right directly to the wood. And so now what I need to do is I need to paint the entire thing flat black, and for that I'm going to use some 2X. Alright, so I'm going to take this outside. Make sure you do this in a well ventilated area. I'm going to give it a good color. So check back here, I'm going to start getting into the painting. So hang tight. Alright guys, and we're back. And so yeah, I took some of that 2X and ended up being semi-gloss. In which case it's made it quite glossy here and on the rivets for some reason. I'm not worried about that because it's just a base coat, and I'm gonna go ahead and dumb it down now. So I got me some water, I got me a bunch of different brushes, alright, and a bunch of colors here. Now what I want to try to do, I've never done it before, and that's to do oxidized copper. Now obviously this is brass, and so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to, you can use gold, like antique gold, and I'm going to kind of give it a rub so that that's a real dark, dingy brass. Okay, but from all of this here around it is going to be copper sheets with copper rivets. Okay, so because I want it all like derelict and dingy, I want to oxidize it. And so in oxidizing, it's when the copper gets a tinge of one of these colors, and I'm really going to look hard on these. I'm thinking I'm going to go with Caribbean, okay? And I think I'm going to do that first, and then blend my coppers in afterwards. Alright, so and now for this, I'm going to go ahead and use a brand new 1-inch chip brush. And I'm going to grab me some of that paint. And then I'm just going to try to start putting it here and there, around the rivets, the cracks. Just start working that stuff in random spots. So that's our first coat. I think I can go back in after I put in the copper and feather in some more green if I want to. Okay, so now another choice here. I've got an antique copper. Now this is a metallic acrylic paint made by Folk Art. And then this one here is Anita's. I think I got this at Hobby Lobby Craft Paint. This is an aged copper. Okay, so this one's a bit lighter, this one's darker. I think I want to go with the dark first for the base, and then just dry brush the lighter one on top of that. Okay. So I'm liking this. I'm already liking how this looked. I was having a really hard time picking out a paint for that oxide, you know, but I think I'm happy with that. All right, so now I've got some of this dark antique copper, and I'm getting the excess off my brush, and I don't have to even wait for this to dry. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to start dry brushing that copper in there. I don't want to go too much on that green, you know, because I want that in there. So anywhere where I see the black where there isn't green is where I'm focusing that copper. Okay, now I'm going to have the choice to come back through if I want to soften that green some more too, if I want to. And then, yeah, I think I'm going to come back through and dry brush more of that green on top of this. This here is just going to help us pick up that brass, or sorry, that copper. Let us know it's there. So anyways, you're just going to want to keep going around, working it. Yeah, I think I'm going to come back through and go dab that green on top of the copper after. It's going to be done in layers. Anyways, I'm going to work on this, guys. You get the idea. And we'll come back and then we'll see what we're going to do next. So hang tight, guys. Alright, guys, so I went through I took some of this lighter copper and I went back over everything. Alright, but I know that I have to go back in, and I didn't even clean my copper brush in water. Just using the same one, I put some more of that green, and then just kind of went and dabbed in here, as you can see as I done around here, and I just went back over the edges with that green, and it actually softens and helps to blend in a little bit better around the corners and the rivets and stuff, and it breaks up the copper a lot better. So I think that looks much better doing this, stippling around all the seams and rivets, and now it's really starting to look like something. Alright, just all the way around. Let's see, that's what we're starting to get there. Alright. And I'm liking it. I like that. So I'm going to keep working on it. I'm just going to keep going back around with the green, around all the corners here, blending, working it in, and we'll come back and I'll start on the porthole itself. And once we're done that, we're ready to start mounting this tentacle, and which leaves only one thing after that, and that's to paint the tentacle. We get that thing posed, and then I got to get some hardware on it so we can hang this bad boy on the wall and see what it's going to ultimately look like at the end. So I'm really looking forward to that. I hope you are too, so hang tight, guys. Alright guys, so yes, I went and feathered some more of that Caribbean. It's called Caribbean, and I think it does a pretty good job of capturing that oxidized copper look. So I'm done with that portion. Now for the porthole, it was just too darn bright the way it was, and it actually is a brass piece, but it was just way too bright. So for this, I'm going to use an antique gold, and I'm just going to really lightly work it into this thing here. I really want that black showing through. I want it to seem really dull. Alright guys, so I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to add a few more coats, and then we'll see where we're at. Hang tight. Alright guys, and there we have our bulkhead and porthole. Alright, and now it's all ready for the octopus tentacle. Alright, and I think I'm going to do that now. And what we're going to do in this case is, so we got this wire sticking out. I'm going to go ahead and cut about that much wire off of there, and I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole in the center to feed this wire through. I'm going to put epoxy on the wire, and then I'm going to I think I'm going to use silicone on the foam to the wood. Now one thing I'm going to have to do is squeeze this down a little bit to make it fit, so that's going to help it all get snug. And in order to do that, I got to lay this thing flat. Okay? Alright, so let's get set up for that then. Alright guys, so I got my bulkhead and porthole. Now it's time to mount the tentacle in there. Okay? And it's perfect. I haven't posed it. That's going to work great because gravity is going to help it stay in position and cure. Alright, and I found the center, and I got a drill bit here. I'm going to go ahead and just drill a hole. Get that out of there. I got some clear silicone that I'm just going to go ahead. I'm just going to put a ton of it in here. If there's going to be any gaps or anything in here after the tentacle's been glued into place, then I'm going to go ahead and fill that in with latex as well, and then paint it and blend it into the tentacle itself. So it'll look like something that is actually coming in. Alright, so got my hole there. I'll stick my wire in. Oops, upside down. Okay. And then I want to squeeze this a little bit. Pop it in. Put it down there. Make sure we got a good contact. You can always you can put like a towel across here so that you can protect your paint job, and then put something up here against this to hold it in place, but it's actually held in place. Alright, So now it actually has to sit like this. What I think I'm going to go ahead and do is, I can see some gaps here on the sides. I'm going to go ahead and pour some liquid latex in there to fill them in and to help it all cure as one. Plus it'll glue it in there more. But this is going to need some time to dry, so I can't really do much more of it right now, guys. So unfortunately, fortunately, we got this thing painted, and now we've got the tentacle mounted in there. Like I said, I gotta go ahead and pour some liquid latex in there, but you're gonna have to come back for the conclusion of the porthole and tentacle build. That's where the money shot is. You guys come, I'm gonna paint this tentacle, and we're gonna hang it on the wall and pose it and see it in all its glory. So you're gonna have to come back, guys. So anyways, please like and subscribe and hit the bell. It's gonna notify you when I upload future videos, and I'm gonna be always doing stuff, guys. Go check out my brothers, Keith from Cobwebs and Candlesticks and Vic Springston from Monster Misfits, and I appreciate you guys, and until next time, peace.